What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic.
I'm Jammin.
And we have an album review for you, and one that I mentioned kind of anticipated, because this is a long time, establishment in terms of like old school doom metal. We are going to go over the latest offering from Pentagram, Lightning in a Bottle. This comes out on the 31st of January on Heavy Psych Sounds. This band born in 1971 in Washington, D.C. This is their 10th album overall. The last one I got was Last Rites, which I really enjoyed. That was back in 2011, and I kind of overlooked the rest of them. And part of that is kind of due to the fact that the main guy behind this band and lone original member, Bobby Liebing, has had a really, really tough life. If any of you out there have seen the Last Days Here documentary, yeah, it's kind of a harrowing watch. And honestly, when this popped up, I was like, oh, wow, Bobby's still alive. Actually, even before that, when they were announced for the pre-fest for Maryland Death Fest this year, I was like, wow, Bobby's still alive. And good on him.
Yep.
Thank you for being alive, Bobby.
Good job. I never really got into Pentagram all that much per se, but I was into a ton of bands that I could easily compare to Pentagram and can still compare to Pentagram. Things like St. Vitus and Spirit Caravan and COC and Black Sabbath and things like that. So while I never really got into Pentagram, one might say that I was also into Pentagram by proxy, and that's kind of where I sit today.
And good news, if you were into Pentagram back in the day, you're still going to be into Pentagram now. Not much has changed in terms of their style. It is still deeply rooted in Black Sabbath and akin to a lot of the earlier doom metal bands. We said St. Vitus, I would throw in The Obsessed. I would throw in a lot of Wino projects, honestly. Also, like Witchfinder General, and of course, Trouble. Bands like that, in terms of that early vanguard of doom metal that came out, they're very much rooted in that sound still. I will say the only thing that really strikes me as different, but not really that different because they've put out albums, well past the year 2000, is the production. This is a little bit more modern produced, kind of akin to like what you would hear on like an album by The Gates of Slumber. It just has a little bit more of a modern sound, but it's still gritty, it's still warm. The guitars on here, mega fuzzy crunch, big warm bass, big, like, natural sounding drums.
Very punchy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that really hits just right off the bat. The track Live Again opens up with just that sound. Big old bouncy stomp. I will say something for this record. It is remarkably catchy. And that is pretty much across the board. From Live Again to Panic Room to Thundercrest to I Spoke to Death. Songs like that just have a bunch of really awesome melodic hooks in them, and it's kind of hard to get them out of your head. Yeah,
this band really doesn't like stray much from the formula. The formula is find a good riff, lock on it, find some fun grooves, whether they're a little bit more up-tempo and rocking or kind of like that Sabbath swing, which believe me, this whole album is loaded with that, or even just some like fun off-time grooves. But find a good space for a good chorus. There's even some good pre-choruses on here too, which is very much like an old school trope. And of course with the bridge, find a good place to take it for a walk for a little bit. Lots of Iommi-ish solos on here. Like almost every solo on here just has that Tony Iommi flair to it, which is always welcome. I Spoke to Death in particular has a fiercely Iommi lead, and honestly, when I saw that song title, I was like, you know what? I believe Bobby probably has spoke to death on numerous occasions. Like, not yet, fucker. But while this definitely has like kind of its own wheelhouse, like its own comfort zone, there's enough variety on here to kind of keep it from getting too monotonous. Like again, you have more up-tempo rockers, Live Again, The Panic Room, the short but rowdy I'll Certainly See You in Hell. I love that song title. I like the fact that Certainly's in there. Like Bobby knows, like, no, we're
definitely gonna be there.
Oh, we're roasting together. You get some more like up-tempo stomps on there, like, it's just a little bit more energetic, but it also has like some really cool like spacey atmospheric sections too. Lady Heroine, which I think is probably one of the most dynamic songs there, has this ferociously desert rock vibe on the bridge. Like you get these cleaner tones, this more open atmosphere. The vocals are a little bit more isolated on there, and it definitely, again, sounds like Wino was on the album. Like he might have snuck in the studio and just kind of wrote that riff for a second.
Sounds like Wino played for Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
And the verse on Lady Heroin has a huge Queen of the Stone Age vibe. Like, easily something that was on Songs for the Deaf.
Actually, that was like right away too. The stomping drum intro on there, it's a little bit heavier, a little bit more aggressive, but it has what I would call like just a beat you would hear on Songs for the Deaf, because Dave Grohl's on drums there, and it's just kind of got that vibe. But this song in particular just has like a little bit more in the way of transitions, because a lot of these songs, you know, you hear that opening riff, guess what? You're going to be hearing it for most of the song. Mm-hmm. And of course, the bridge will be fun. It'll have a Sabbathy lead, and then back to the chorus, and then, hey, we'll probably close out with that riff again. This song kind of takes you on a bit of a journey.
Definitely more by way of dynamic. There's more than just verse chorus going on here. And the stylistic changes as well. Again, going from like a big beefy tribal groove to straight Queens of the Stone Age to Pink Floyd to something really heavy at the end. Like there's just more going on in that song.
And there's some songs in here that I would say were a little bit heavier than what I expect. Thundercrest and Solve the Puzzle, great fat grooves, but like big, broken down, heavy riffs, more aggressive in terms of the tone. And even the like kind of like that 70s rock boogie just feels like it's just a little bit more aggressive throughout. Like, you know, there's some like chromatic riffs in there that kind of feel like a little bit more akin to not 70s, but maybe more 80s metal.
Maybe even a little bit of 90s too. Like they're not totally stuck in the 70s box, but this is very old school across the board.
In terms of like a 90s band that kept coming up just because of, again, just rockin' grooves, catchy riffs, they're a little bit stony, they're definitely a bit bluesy. There's some Clutch vibes on here. Like Clutch with like, you know, more of a dark, sinister edge, I would say, because, you know, like the sort of lyrical scheme doesn't scream Neil. But there's that perpetual 70s rock boogie. Like, yeah, it's sinister and dark at times, but I don't know, it feels like the devil is trying to get you to shake your ass a little bit. And, you know, rightfully so. Like, dude, some of these songs just are flat out hooky. Like, start the end, that opening riff right there just sinks in. It's got a big hook to it. It's a little bit more bright, maybe like a little bit more stoner rock oriented. Like, it reminded me of Fu Manchu right out of the gate. Like, it just kind of has that desert rock sort of hook. But sometimes you just get stuff that is just flat out classic. Spread Your Wings. I swear I've probably heard that same riff on countless songs, but I never turn off if I hear that riff. Like, it's just like this very classic stoner doom, classic rock.
Sludge.
It's just got a presence to it, and again, it's an instant hook. And Spread Your Wings just has like this, I don't know, really catchy vibe. Like, I particularly like the vocals on that one too. Bobby sounds like a little bit more gruff and bluesy overall, which Bobby was probably the wild card in here in terms of stuff that I was kind of, you know, worrying about. He's 71 years old, and again, if you've seen the documentary, you know the history of this band. That man has lived quite a life, and quite a life full of dark stuff. But yeah, with all that considered, I kind of wondered, like, all right, how are Bobby's vocals going to be on here? Because, again, you know, all the different things he's been through. And honestly, he does pretty well in here.
It's not bad. He works better when he doesn't try to draw out notes or phrases. When he presents the vocals in short little spurts and doesn't elongate words, that's where he really pops. It's where he starts to draw things out that he kind of loses. Well, first of all, finding the note that he's on, or losing just the ability to hold his voice that long. And he goes from sounding like this man does to Glenn Danzig, which isn't terrible.
There's also a bit of an issue with his vibrato too. Like, he's just kind of got this, it doesn't necessarily have like the most steady vibrato. So when they do inevitably do some like doubling on his vocals or like some harmonies and such, it can be hard to match. Like, the vibratos in terms of the rhythm of his vocals don't always match. Like, they really kind of showed up on the title track, which they didn't sound like they were like way off key or anything, but it's just something you notice that, like, all right, he's not hitting that same thing every time. But at the same time, he's 71 years old.
Right.
And for the most part, he sounds good. He's got a gruff, bluesy delivery. He croons really well. And he has this dramatic flair to his vocals, especially in, like, the more spacey songs. Like, again, Lady Heroin, while it has this very aggro start, you get these very ghostly wails and kind of breathy vocals over it, and it just kind of creates its own atmosphere there.
Now, Pentagram being slated as a doom band, I know we've covered a lot of things such as upbeat rockers and spacey things and atmospheric, and there's definitely some heavier riffs going on, but there is a straight doom song, and I was so happy to hear it, and it is such a beast. Walk the Sociopath. It's heavy, evil, dark, doomy, and just straight up stank-faced throughout most of the song.
Yeah, well, like songs like Thinocrass and Solve the Puzzle definitely changed the vibe in terms of being more aggressive. Walk the Sociopath is the one that just brings the doom. First off, I'm pretty sure Walk the Sociopath was what my mom, called taking me to the mall as a kid, because I was a giant pain in the ass and I just wanted stuff and then I would inevitably get in trouble. But as much as I was probably an arbinger of doom for her in that building, this song is just world-ending, droning, menacing riffs. It's probably the only song in here I felt like legit darkness.
Yeah.
And it stays slow. It is just murky and dense. And Bobby sounds absolutely haunting on there. It's legit probably my favorite track on here. As soon as it hit, my lip curled, and it had nothing to do with the sour candies that, John brought over. There's this really odd harmonization in that song, too, in terms of the riffs. Like, it's almost like a counter melody where they kind of just do, like, this bend. It gives this, riff this extra kind of lurch, like it's just reaching out for you and pulling your soul right from your body. Those are things I look for in doom. It also has a really awesome riff at the end, like it goes full bore, like down to sort of like sludge metal on the end of it. It is absolutely awesome. Now, Walk the Sociopath is actually the last track in here, but there are 3 bonus tracks. One of them was a rough mix of Lady Heroin, which we already listened to Lady Heroin. I thought it was an awesome song as is, so we kind of skipped that. But Start the End and Might Just Want to Be Your Fool, kind of fun bonus tracks. Start the End was probably my favorite of the two. Again, just a fiercely catchy riff, and they just lay on it. Might Just Want to Be Your Fool kind of has this like drunken off-time swagger, a little bit more wah to it. It's more of like just a flat-out 70s rocker. And all right, one slight complaint on here, or at least a couple. I do think, it is a little long in terms of the album, but I mean, that's kind of to be expected of a lot of Doom albums. But also, I kind of wanted like some more songs like Walk the Sociopath. There's definitely a lot of moments on here where you get like some big doomy riffs, but there's always this like sort of like upbeat sort of boogie to it, which is not bad. They do it well, but considering, this band's, kind of a pioneer in terms of doom metal, and considering, again, all the things that Bobby has been through, I kind of wanted maybe a touch more darkness on here.
Yeah, for a doom band, this wasn't very doomy. Granted, there are some heavier moments, and there is one definite doom song, which I really enjoyed. And it's not to say I didn't enjoy this record, but there are a lot of bright moments in a band that's in a genre that is predominantly dark. So it kind of threw me off a little bit.
But overall, this was a good listen. This was just riffs and groove, and honestly, it's kind of hard to really miss with this unless, I don't know, you're just not feeling it, because I feel like a lot of this comes down to like, you kind of just got to feel this vibe. So I'm going to go ahead and give this 3.5 stars. This was an enjoyable listen. I need more Pentagram in my collection. Like, I've heard like a lot of the old school demos that Relapse reissued forever ago. I don't have a lot of their full-length albums. In fact, I think Last Rites was the last one that I actually got, and I don't know if I have anything else by them. That's going to change. This band does exactly what I expected Pentagram to do. It is old school doom metal, kind of no frills, but it never really needed frills to begin with. If you love big riffs and fuzzy tones and, bleak, gloomy atmosphere, but also just flat out 70s inspired rockers with a big old beefy tone, check this album out. Again, definitely for fans of Witchfinder General, St. Vitus, Trouble, all the old guard. Yeah, good stuff.
I pretty much agree, almost verbatim with all of that. I'm at a 3.5 as well. It was a good record. It's very catchy. I'll give it that. And there are a lot of really cool riffs. And it does a good job going between upbeat rockers and some more heavy, like, kind of downtrodden things going on. It is very similar in its setup, but effective nonetheless. Simplicity isn't always a bad thing as long as it's presented correctly, and they presented simplicity fairly well. Lots of booty shaking moments in the slowdowns, at least. Every time they get slow and spacey, it's got kind of like that John Paul Gasser swagger from Clutch, you know, and you're just like, yeah, and there's a lot of hip movement. And then Walk the Sociopath, which of course is just a stanky, doomy piece of dark and goodness. I love it to death. You know, like I said, me not really being so much into Pentagram, you can listen to this and definitely hear where it came from. And again, you know, the bands I listed, like Spirit Caravan and St. Vitus and pretty much anything Wino's ever touched, and Down 2 and Black Sabbath and COC, like it's all in there, and it's presented, again, pretty damn well. So yeah, if you're into any of that, and if you've been into this band for a long time, I can probably almost guarantee that you're still going to be into this band. Check it out for yourself.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We also have memberships. They're only 99 cents, and we do a members-only live stream as our lone perk. We are kind of getting one together here real soon, and that is kind of the main way to support the channel. We also still have our store, thrallsmetal.com, with our t-shirts and hats and such. That is linked down below in the description, and if you would like to join this channel and brag to your friends like it's some sort of accomplishment or something, it's really not. You can just locate the join button down here someplace.
It's there. I promise it's there. I saw it earlier.
I saw it earlier.
Yep. And as always, tons of stuff going on at Thralls of Metal. Album reviews, discography rankings. Thank God we're done with Motley Crue, and I don't ever have to listen to that giant pile of shit again. The next ranking coming up actually is At the Gates, which I'm totally fucking stoked for. I imagine a lot of you are as well. Collection updates, states of metal, is it not metal, live streams, multiple segments, tons of stuff going on because it's 2025 and you're all here, and we appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of Thralls of Metal. Thank you for subscribing to this channel and continuing to let us into your homes or living rooms or jobs or whatever. I don't know. I don't understand why you do it, but we're thankful that you do. It's been an absolute blast. We have, again, tons of stuff coming. Nick?
Yeah, you guys absolutely roll. Tons of content coming your way. So one more big thank you because you guys are awesome, and we will catch you later.